So let's talk about Russia's energy game. Because, well, it's really a tale of two different Russias. On one hand, you've got this energy giant whose stranglehold on Europe seemed to just shatter. But on the other, there's this hidden empire, methodically building a new kind of global dominance, one that's a whole lot harder to touch. Let's dig in.
Everything really kicked off back in 2022. The invasion of Ukraine? It sent this massive earthquake through the world's energy markets. You have to remember, for decades, Europe basically ran on a steady diet of Russian gas and oil. It was the continent's lifeblood, its main energy artery. And then, all of a sudden, that artery was being cut.
And this chart, it shows you just how fast and how brutal that break was. I mean, look at that bar on the left. In 2021, a full 40% of the EU's gas came from Russia. Now look at the bar on the right. Just a short time later, it plunged to under 10%. This wasn't some gentle, planned phase-out. This was an emergency amputation.
And the fallout? Oh, it was felt immediately. And I mean, felt in people's wallets. This energy shock sent gas and electricity bills through the roof all over the continent. We're talking doubling, even tripling in some places. This wasn't some abstract news headline. This was a crisis hitting every single home and every single business.
So, what do you do when your main energy tap just gets shut off? You scramble. And that is exactly what Europe did. It was a desperate, all-out pivot to find new power and, keep the lights on.
Okay, so their emergency plan basically had three main parts. First, they went on a global shopping spree for liquefied natural gas, or LNG, from places like the US and Qatar. Second, they made a tough call, a temporary and pretty controversial return to coal. And third, they put the pedal to the metal on accelerating renewable energy.
And this right here, this is the crucial part. The crisis completely flipped the script on green energy. All of a sudden, solar panels and wind turbines weren't just about fighting climate change anymore. Nope, they became tools, even weapons, in the fight for energy independence. They became a matter of national security.
Now, looking at all of this, the pipeline shut down, Europe's insanely fast pivot away, you'd be forgiven for thinking the answer is pretty obvious. Russia lost its biggest, most lucrative customer. Its leverage over the West seems totally shattered, right? Well, that's what's so fascinating. It's not even close. Turns out, while the entire world was fixated on the drama playing out with the gas pipelines, Russia was playing a completely different game. A much, much longer game. We were all looking at the wrong map. And this brings us to the other side of the story, to Russia's hidden empire. I want you to meet Rosatom. It's the state-owned nuclear corporation, but it's not just another company. This thing is the bedrock of a new global nuclear dynasty.
And this is where you really start to see the scale of this hidden power. Rosatom controls nearly half of the entire world's capacity for uranium enrichment. Now, that's the supercritical process of turning raw uranium into usable fuel for nuclear reactors. That gives them a geopolitical chokehold on the entire global nuclear industry. It's staggering.
Someone once called it the most vertically integrated nuclear company on Earth. And there's a really good reason for that. Understanding what that actually means is the key to understanding why they're so powerful, so untouchable.
So how in the world did they do it? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the Rosatom playbook for building an untouchable empire. It all boils down to this one business concept: vertical integration. In simple terms, it means Rosatom doesn't need to rely on anyone else for anything. They control every single piece of the puzzle, from digging the uranium out of the ground to designing the reactor, building the plant, supplying the fuel for decades, and then even taking back the radioactive waste at the end.
What this creates is this incredible one-stop shop offer, and it's especially appealing to developing nations who want to get into the nuclear game. Think about it. If you're a country like Egypt or Bangladesh, you don't have to deal with a dozen different international companies. Rosatom handles the whole shebang, from start to finish. It's a simple all-in-one package.
But here's the real kicker, the financial knockout punch. Because Rosatom is backed by the Russian state, they can come in and offer to finance up to 90% of one of these massive multi-billion-dollar projects. That is a deal that their Western competitors just can't match. They don't have that kind of government backing. And what it does is it creates this powerful dependency that locks countries into Russian tech and Russian influence for generations.
And finally, there's the politics. See, the US makes its partners sign these really restrictive deals called 123 agreements. They come with all sorts of political conditions and oversight. Rosatom, they show up with a no-strings-attached attitude.
That makes them the go-to partner for a lot of countries that are a bit wary of Western influence. So, when you put all these pieces together, you start to see two totally different energy strategies playing out on the world stage, and it's creating a new global energy map, a world that is becoming more and more divided along these energy lines. This table really breaks it down nicely. On one side, you have Russia's model. It's centralized, it's state-backed, and its main goal is to create dependency through this nuclear dominance. And on the other side, you have Europe's response. It's market-based, it's all about seeking independence, and it uses renewables as a tool for security. It's a fundamental clash of philosophies.
And you can already see where this is headed. It looks like we're splitting into two diverging futures. You have a Western bloc that's racing towards a green hydrogen economy, trying to achieve security through energy autonomy, and at the exact same time, you have a Russia-China-aligned bloc that's going all in on nuclear, using Rosatom's model to expand its influence all across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East.
Which leaves us with this final, really critical question. Are we actually watching the birth of a new kind of Cold War? One that isn't fought with missiles and tanks, but with solar panels and nuclear reactors. A world that's fundamentally divided by the very energy that powers our lives.